Hey guys, this is Kyle at ProjectionHub, and I am back with a video on how to write an entire SBA-ready business plan in one day. The inspiration of this video a couple years ago, on the onset of ChatGPT being released, I had made a video on YouTube that's been viewed more than 30,000 times. I said a couple years ago, a year ago. Feels like it's been longer than that. And the whole point of that video was to help people write a business plan using tools, using AI tools, except not just to go into those tools and say, hey, write me a business plan for this business. And then they sit back and let the tools do the whole thing. And I continue to hear from people that they want to use these tools, but they're not quite sure how to coach them and guide them and prompt them in the right way to get the best result that feels human and in control and inspired. And so I've had people ask for a more in-depth guide and resource to do that versus that older video I have. And so that's what I have for you today. I have created this how to write an SBA ready business plan in one day guide. It is a full guide and checklist so that you'll be able to follow through this and follow the 6 steps to create your business plan. Now, I say in one day, and I highlight here to emphasize this says 1 day, not 1 hour. So, it's going to be a healthy chunk of time. If you cleared your schedule for a day, you can absolutely do this. But if you're cramming for a couple hours a night, expect to take a few days when you're doing this and take the time that you need. If you're in the planning stage process, it's important to think all the details through, get things done. And, if you've already started like an SBA loan application and you're under the gun to get a business plan created, I understand, but you want to make sure you do your plan well and you understand everything that's in it. And so go ahead and grab a copy of this. I've linked this Google Doc down in the description below. You can grab your copy of it. I don't need your email or anything. You should just be able to click that link and it should say make a copy and you'll have your own version of that. So go ahead and grab that. And if you're here and you're like, I have no interest in using AI to write my business plan, that's totally okay. I've got a link here to some free business plan templates. You can find your industry and do it that way. So in today's video, I'm not going to write a whole business plan for you in front of, the camera, although I could do that, but you'd be looking at, an hour-long video probably. But I'm going to quickly go through the sections, show you some examples of what I mean for each of the sections, and then show you like what the ideal outcome would be or what it could look like at the end for you to do this. So if you have questions along the way, drop a comment below. You can email me directly at kyle@projectionhub.com if you have questions about your business plan or any of the components within it or preparing for SBA, whatever that is, because that's kind of what this is geared towards, assuming you're, maybe you're a startup or acquisition or expansion for trying to get an SBA loan. So if you have questions, just feel free to reach out. All right. Kind of jumping into this. Let's do it here. Now, again, I'm not going to read everything to you, but I would encourage you to read through this. It's going to feel long, but it's really in these 6 steps and it's filled with some references in between. That's why it feels a little bit longer. But why does your business plan really matter? I want to hit on this quick. Your lender needs to understand what your business will do and how you will do it. Your lender needs to believe there's an opportunity your business is going to succeed. They need to believe that you know what you're doing, and your lender needs to believe that your plan is realistic, reliable, and achievable. That's largely going to be financially related there. So step 1. So before you just start writing, I encourage you to do kind of a brain dump. So open a Google Doc where you're going to put all the thoughts you've had about that down. The name, what does it look like? What is it going to offer? It doesn't have to be perfect. You're just going to try to get as many thoughts down on paper as possible. And I think I've linked down here too. There's this quick video on how you can do this process. That's kind of step 1 and 2, but I'm going to give you an example here, right? So here's one I put together for the Meeple Cafe, and this is a board game cafe. I got obviously the name. It's going to feel weird because you're writing about yourself, but you think about, you're going to be writing these notes to give it to like an AI tool to help understand what you're doing. Talk about the location. Even if you haven't identified a specific location, what's type of location? Talk about yourself. What kind of experience do you have? Why should a lender trust that you know what you're doing, getting yourself into? Who do you think it would be for? What are you going to offer? Do you have an idea of what your initial budget is? What the total startup costs might be? Some things you're going to need to buy. Here's some pictures, right? So it's just a quick notes of what's in your head. People who start a business, they may not know everything, but they probably have enough of an idea to have felt confident and compelled to do this. So just try to get everything you can down on a document. And that's going to be kind of our trusty dusty notes through this, right? So continue to follow through this. Again, there's some other recommendations in here. Things like if you're planning to do this SBA, before you spend a whole bunch of time writing a business plan and kind of dialing it in, make sure you're eligible for SBA. We offer a free SBA like expert review, just to if you want some expert feedback on what we think your approval odds are, some things to look out for, you can check that out. But again, if the whole point of this is for an SBA loan, you should probably make sure that it's realistic to think you might be able to get approved for one before you spend all the time doing this. And then moving on to step 2, and that's going to be playing 20 questions with AI. Again, I have a video example here of how this plays out, so you can give that a watch. But we're essentially going to take those notes you compiled. You're going to download as an attachment. You're going to, whatever tool you prefer to use, ChatGPT, Claude, Grok, Gemini, please do your own research. Make sure you're comfortable with the safety parameters of the tools that you're using. ChatGPT is probably the most common, so that's probably, a safe bet if you're going to do that. Don't put your social security number in there or something like that. But no one's sitting on the other side ready to steal your business idea. I don't think you need to be worried about that. But you're going to attach that. This document is going to give you the prompt. So you're just going to be able to write your information in there, copy and paste the prompt, okay? And then do what these steps say. Follow along through this. But essentially this section is we're going to use the tool to help us figure out an outline for our business plan, and then we're going to have it create a bunch of questions for us to answer. So once we get all those questions from there, like I demonstrate in that video, copy and paste those back into your notes document in this questions section, or if you create that. And then you're going to spend some time. You're going to go through and you are going to answer those questions. Okay. And the key thing about answering those questions, another thing to point out here is that I included some ideal or a rough reference of an outline for a business plan. So you can use that as a checklist here. You can copy and paste that to give that to your AI tool as a reference for your outline. That can be helpful. But you're going to copy all those questions, put those in a document, and then it's time to do your homework, okay? So you're going to take those questions, put them in your notes document, and you are going to write the answer to those. So the whole point of this is to do not cheat and just have the AI answer them for you. Because again, remember, you need to know and understand what your business plan is. At the end of the day, a lender is going to be asking you questions about your plan for the business. So if you can't answer those or you don't know where that came from, that's going to be a problem. So do not rob yourself of this key exercise. Now, can you use the AI tool to help you figure out and understand the answer of how you want to prepare or how you want to do one of those questions? Yeah, absolutely. But don't just say okay, now that you have 20 questions, just answer them. And then I'm going to copy and paste those and use them. So go through, write what fill in your answer as much detail as you can. If you don't understand one of the questions or it's not something you've thought about, go out and do some Googling, do some research, use the AI tool to try to get to the bottom of what you want to answer for that question. That exercise is meant to fill the gaps between what you haven't thought about for your business plan yet, the things you need to know. So don't be put off if some of the questions create extra work for you. You might need to go out and do some research. You might need to make some phone calls. Now, I know this says to write a business plan in one day, and that is the goal, but there are some things in order to fully be prepared and understand your business that might take you more time to go out there and track down a good answer for that. So again, and then here's an outline you can reference or provide those tools to kind of follow along. I've highlighted in red ones that are for acquisitions and expansions. You can check them off as you go. And then step 3. So we got our notes document. Yours should look like you got all your own notes in here. You might have some photos in here. That's great. You should have a bunch of questions pasted in here with your own answers written into them. And so it's feeling like a pretty complete document here about your business. Now, before we start writing, we're going to create the financial projections. And you might be wondering well, why would we do that before writing the business plan? And basically, in short, it's if the numbers don't work for the projections, then there's no point in writing the business plan. Now, we did all the notes because it's important to understand what your business is going to be well enough to make sure that the numbers that you're putting into your projections and creating your projections with have some basis of understanding. So, if the projections don't look great and you're like, well, why did I spend time doing the notes? I think it was helpful and worthy of your time to do that exercise. Now, I say in here, obviously, I'm from ProjectionHub. We help people with financial projections. You don't have to hire us. That's not what the sales pitch is. My point is just to say financial projections are the one component. Again, this whole point of this video is to try to help you to be able to write an SBA-ready business plan on your own, save some time, not have to hire someone like me to do business plan, although I am available if you need help. The financial projections are something that you really want to get right. So if you're not comfortable with this part of the process, with creating projections, not sure what the numbers are supposed to look like, this is probably where you should spend some money in the application or the business planning prep process. So I've linked some ways here. We have do-it-yourself projection templates you can buy that are affordable to use, come with free support. There's even a discount code in here. You can go grab one, or you can have us help create your financial projections with an expert. But that would be my recommendation. There are loads of templates and tools and ways to create projections out there. I guess my point is, don't just try to create your projections from scratch by yourself in a worksheet or something like that. You really want to make sure you're using something that's going to give you reliable numbers, is responsive. So if you tweak the scenario or adjustments, it's going to automatically update accurately. That's what we want to do. Okay. So here's a video breakdown talking about your projections and things that a good expert should be monitoring. So things you want to look out for in your projections. And here's a nice checklist of those things as well. So again, if you have questions regarding that, feel free to reach out to us. Comment down below. Email us at support@projectionhub.com or Kyle@projectionhub.com. We're happy to help with that. Okay, so let's assume you take care of the projections. You find a template, you get it filled out. You're feeling good about the numbers. You know, your numbers are accurate. Your debt service coverage ratio looks good, all that stuff. Now it's time to write. Okay, so we're going to go back to our AI tool. So now we have, and I should have mentioned, copy and paste highlights from your financial projections back into your notes. So things like the financial assumptions, which is something I pointed out back here in the question phase. One of the prompts said specifically to ask questions to understand the financial assumptions. And what I mean by financial assumptions, those are the inputs for your numbers, right? So not revenue, right? That's an output. Revenue or total costs or profitability, like those are the outputs we're trying to get to for projections. Inputs are things like, if you're a restaurant, how many tables are you going to have? How many hours are you going to be open for? What's the typical range of prices on your menu? You know, things like that. What are you going to pay your servers? Like those are the financial assumptions. If you're starting a trucking business, how many miles are you going to try to drive? How many hours a day can you drive? Like all of those types of things. Those are the financial assumptions that are going to make up the basis of your projections. So through that question and answer and your note-taking phase, you should have a nice collection of those financial assumptions. And yeah, okay, so put your financial assumptions in your notes document, copy and paste some profit and loss information, all that kind of stuff into your notes document. Now you're going to re-download your notes document as a PDF, give it back to whatever AI tool you're using, and now you're going to write, okay? So I've got a couple of long prompts you're going to put in here. You can read through the specifics of that, make sure you fill in where it makes sense for your business. But the goal is to essentially, we're going to have it follow your outline, copy and paste that outline I talked about originally, make sure that's in your notes document. And then we're going to have the tool go through section by section of your business plan, drafting a version of it, okay? It's going to give you an audit matrix. So it says you're required to give me an audit matrix. So we want to basically, we're going to read through every single time it produces a section. Did it miss any of the subheadings? Did it misunderstand something? Did it leave out something important? Did it make something up? Is a number wrong? This is a really important step. You've come this way to make sure it's based in reality and based off your information. You don't want to just let the tool go crazy, okay? These tools, they can hallucinate. They can just get on a roll and they just start coming up with stuff. So you need to read every single word it writes. When it looks great, sounds good, boom, copy and paste that. You're opening up a new Google Doc. That's your draft. So like right here, Meeple Cafe business plan draft. You're going to drop in, copy and paste your executive summary. When that looks good, you're confident, tell it to proceed to the next section. Okay, we're going to do that for each section of the business plan. You're going to do the company description. You're going to do your products and services. You're going to do your market analysis. You're going to do your operations. You're going to do your financial plan. You're going to step through each one of those, reading every word. If it's something's wrong, right there, you're changing on the fly. You're tweaking. Okay, I want to tweak this, or this number is wrong, or like we need to readjust that. And then you're going to proceed through. So eventually, you're going to have a draft with a full written business plan, copy and pasted in there, based upon things you've read, you understand, you've approved of, that before they make it into that draft. So don't just blindly copy and paste it. We want to make sure things are right. Everything was covered. Okay. So, and at the very end, 2 more prompts. Please do a comprehensive review. So we want to go back through and do another check. If you really want to get fancy with this, you could take your notes, go to a different AI tool, attach your notes there, copy and paste your new business plan draft and say, is anything wrong or is whatever. So you could have a third-party audit if you want to, not required. And then I like to do, since the executive summary is really just the highlight reel of the whole business plan, but we're having it written first, I like to have it do one more thing and basically say, now that we've written the whole thing, Should we adjust anything in the executive summary? Read those tweaks, apply those back up there. Okay, now we're moving on to the final touches. And this is essentially the visual aids. Now, again, some things I've put in here as a resource. One is a video on how you can get visuals and why they're important and put them in what kind of visuals. This is largely going to depend on what type of business you have. If it's an e-commerce business, it's harder to have visuals. If you're going to have like a restaurant, that's a great example of something you can get a lot of visuals for. But also down here in this outline, I've done some visual ideas by section in the outline. So, in your company description, if these make sense for your business, here's some ideas for visuals, market analysis. Here's a specific video where I talk about how to do market analysis on your own, some tools you can grab some things for. So this whole section is about how to take your nice business plan and then spice it up with some more visuals, helpful visuals. We're not just throwing in pictures, but adding in some embellishments there to make it really nice and good. And then there you have it. We'll come to the end. And how are you going to use your business plan? So at this point, you should have a comprehensive business plan. You should know everything that it was based upon. You should know every single thing that was written in there. You should understand your financial projections. Make sure your projections file matches what's in your business plan about the projections. You'll be able, if you use a template, like one of ours, you'll be able to just use snipping tool, grab screenshots of different things, throw them in there, make it look nice. Let me just show you a quick example. Here's a anonymized version of a business plan where yours should look very similar to this, right? You're going to get your sections pasted in here. You can style it however you want. And then you'll be able to add in maps and location photos and market research data and demographic data. And in our guide there, my video link and the tool links, that's to all these types of tools for you to be able to try to do that on your own. And then just getting down to the financial projections to show you, you just use a snipping tool, grab some screenshots. The AI tool should do a nice job if you gave it the notes to write a little bit of narrative around those. Double check those numbers, make sure that things are accurate, and you want to understand everything that is in there. That is probably the most important takeaway from doing something like this. But assuming, again, this is for an SBA loan, there's some more resources in there, again, including that free kind of SBA expert review where you can use our SBA experts to help figure out, is there any gaps in your application? Will you have any difficulty getting approved? There's a free lender finder tool in here, a free SBA specific application checklist, like documents you need to put together, some additional tips. But I've been wanting to make this guide for a while. You can certainly use someone like an expert like us if you want help or someone to write your business plan for you. But I wanted to create kind of this end-to-end guide for people to feel empowered to use these really powerful AI tools. But how do you do it responsibly with guardrails on it to make sure you're not robbing yourself of the experience of understanding your plan, really, feeling like you know everything that's going to go into that. So you can confidently have a conversation with your lender, answer questions, and make sure that this exercise actually gives you confidence starting your business and isn't just checking a box to hand over a business plan. So again, if you have any questions, feel free to drop a comment below. You can email me directly at Kyle@ProjectionHub or our team at support@ProjectionHub. If you've got questions about your projections, your business plan, applying for an SBA loan, finding an SBA lender, those are all things we help with. So grab this tool and I wish you the best of luck. Thanks.